Ahoy there, me mateys! If you haven't heard, today is National Pirate Day. Talk like a pirate day. So I promise you I won't talk like a pirate this whole video, mainly because I don't know very many pirate words. So let's go ahead and get into our card today. I'm really excited to share this one. I had this idea a couple weeks ago and it all came together and I'm excited to share it. So let's go ahead and switch our camera and get started. All right. So here is my card for today, and it's got a little bit of a surprise inside. So somebody takes it out of the envelope, eek, and then when you open it, a spider falls out. So it's just a little Halloween card with a little surprise inside. So if you have somebody that is afraid of spiders, this might be fun. Well, maybe not if they're afraid, but just a little bit of a scare, right? Not like it's not real. So anyway, to make this card, let's take a look at the products. It's really not using tons of products today. I'm using this die set that is spiders and webs, and these spiders are just so lifelike. They're really fun. Then we're using the Broken Web embossing folder, the Eek word die, and then for my trick or treat on the inside, I did use the Spirited Sentiments, but I also wanted to show you, if you don't have that one, there's this one, which is the brand new collaboration with Simon Says Stamp. This is only available for a limited time, but it also has the fun trick or treat and so many fun images for Halloween. So there may be a few of these still available, but once they're gone for good. So if you haven't got yours yet, head over there to Simon Says Stamp and see if you can still grab that set before it's gone. All right, let me set these down. Another product that I'm using today is some Yupo paper, and I buy it in this big sheet and then cut it down to card size. It's a little more economical that way. You get quite a few and you can cut it down and have lots of card. And I buy that at like an art store. All right, so here I've cut down my Yupo paper. And Yupo is a paper that is covered in like a plastic, so it takes product differently, but it's what works best if you're going to use alcohol inks, which is what we're going to do today to make our spiders. Now, I also have a slimline card base in black and a piece of dark gray, almost like a charcoal color. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and use black, but I kind of wanted my spider web to stand out a little bit more, so I'm using this contrasting color just a little shade lighter. All right, I think that's everything. So for my alcohol inks today, if you've never played with alcohol inks, I like to do it on a glass mat of some kind. So this is just an inexpensive piece of like a glass work board. If you have the Tim Holtz one, you can use that. Everything cleans up off of it perfectly. It's not going to stain your surface or anything like that, but I do like to use glass. So I'm just going to tape my Yupo paper down. I'm using 3 different colors of alcohol inks, and these are just the colors that I chose to make my spiders. So you can see here on my card, I have die cut my spiders out of my Yupo paper after I use my alcohol inks. I'm also using some of the blending solution. To get my alcohol inks to kind of move around, I'm just going to use a good old McDonald's straw, and that's just so I can kind of blow on it and get those inks to kind of move where I want them to go. Hello, if you're out there with me, do say hi there in the chat. Let me know if you like working with alcohol inks. If you need more kind of information about the alcohol inks, just tell me and I can explain a little bit more as I go along. All right, I'm using denim, amethyst, and patina. And I was kind of going for the look of spiders when they're in the sun and the sun kind of hits them and you see those kind of purples and dark blues and greens in the black. So that's kind of what I'm going for. So I'm going to start with, let's see, the denim. And for some reason, I don't know why, I work in sets of 3. I'll put 3 dots of each color. And you don't have to put drops. You can kind of move it this way and do squiggles through there. And a little of both. So, all right. So now that I have some color down, I'm going to add my blending solution and just kind of drop it in there. You can always add more, so I like to start with a little less. Now I'm just going to start blowing it around. Whoa! Now, whoa! Sometimes I do have to move your board. There we go. Ooh, yeah, that's getting me some good color. Sometimes I like to put my board like on a Lazy Susan so that I can spin it. For my video today, I didn't do that, but all right, I want a little bit more of my patina, so I'm just going to fill in a little bit here. And I kind of know how big my spiders are. So about how big the area needs to be here to get my all my die cuts out of it. So that's just kind of personal, you know, so if you know what you're cutting out of it, that'll help. Turn it back this way a little bit, get some of that ink. You can also use your mat and tilt it to get it to go different areas. And you just kind of keep doing this until you get the look that you want. Now, if you're worried about getting lightheaded from blowing through your straw, there are little blowing tools that you can get. And again, I'm losing my green in here, so I'm going to add a little bit more of that. Fill in some of these white spaces. And that's really all there is to it, y'all. Using alcohol inks, it's just fun. Just drip them on there and play around with it till you get a look that you like. And you know, if you're doing what I'm doing today, where I'm going to be die cutting it, then you kind of have an idea of what the look that you want. So right now I'm just kind of thinning it out because I want this to dry in time for me to die cut it. So I'm just blowing it a little further out so that I get this area in the middle a little thinner so that it'll dry quicker. All right, it's looking pretty good. And that's just all there is to it. All right, I am going to go ahead and we're going to hit that with a little bit of the heat gun, and I'm going to use the low setting. I'm just going to kind of blow that a little bit to get that started on the drying process. Now, one thing about Yupo paper is it's very expensive. So all of this area where I don't have my solid color, I'm going to use that. I will take my die cuts. Here, let me show you the one that I already used. I did a little more purple on this one. So anyway, all this paper, I will use that. I will continue to go ahead and to reactivate your alcohol ink, all you have to do is add a little more blending solution. And I can go ahead and use different techniques and get that all colored, and I will save that and use that for other die cuts. on this paper, this end, I will use that in the future. I kind of have an envelope where I keep my extras of my Yupo paper, and we'll use all of that. So I'm just going to place this back behind me and let that continue drying while we move on with our next step. So I've gone ahead and I have cut down my dark gray piece so that it's ready to emboss. So we're going to use this broken web embossing folder. And to get my cobweb to show up on my paper, I am going to use some white pigment ink. And white pigment ink is carried by lots of different companies. And that's what I'm going to use to get that kind of spidery web to show up real delicately on my paper. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and use this one. It's newer, and I'm going to turn it over. And if you feel on your embossing folder, first you decide which part do you want to be white. Is it the inner part or is it the web part? I want the web part to be white. So if you feel it, this is the side where the web is raised up. On this side, the web is low, and it's the solid places in between that are raised up. So I'm going to put my ink on this side. So I'm just going to kind of set it down and twist. Whoops, I might have pressed too hard there. Hold on. Let me grab my thing. I'm going to wipe that off and do that again because this is a little juicier and it went down in. I don't want those spots to show up, so we're going to do that again. Okay. The one that I used yesterday was not quite as juicy, so this one I don't think I'm going to have to press as hard. So if you do get that to go down in there, go ahead and do it again. We just want our ink on the web part, not down in between. So I'm twisting it, but I'm not, you can swipe it on there as well. That works pretty well as well. But I want to make sure it's covered all the way. I'm not worried too much about this outline because I am going to trim that off. Okay, looks like it's pretty good. I'm going to gently lay my paper, right in there and close it up. Now we're going to go ahead and just run that through my die machine here. This is just an old-fashioned cuttle bug. It's what I use to do most of my embossing. I keep my plates all set up with my embossing stack. And this is for A2 size, so I will have to run it through a second time to get that little end. But that's no problem. Run that all the way through. And now I'm just going to push that up and just run it in enough to get that end. All right, now let's see what kind of impression we got. Okay, lift that up, and there's our spider web. Isn't that cool? It gives you such a delicate web in there. I like that. Very cool. Okay, so now that we've got our web, now the pigment ink will not stain this, and pigment ink takes a long time to dry. So what I like to do is I will just wipe this real quick with my kind of wet sponge, and then later I'll just run it under the water in the sink and dry it off real well, and it'll be good to go for next time. It's not going to damage anything at all. All right, so now that I have my pigment ink web in here, I am going to go ahead and hit this with my heat tool just briefly because pigment ink does take a while to dry. because now that I have the white web in there, I want to come around the corners with a little bit of Distress Oxide Black, just a little bit to bring some shading in there. As if this web is just up in the corner of a door maybe, or, you know, just give it a little bit of highlight so that center of the web stands out a little more. Corners a little bit more. All right, that's looking creepy. Okay. For my final step for my web, I'm going to take just a little bit of shimmer spray, and I'm going to set this down in my my splatter box and give it a quick light spray of shimmer. And that's just to add another layer of interest to our card front. So you can kind of see my shimmer here. It's a sparkly kind of, just a light gold, but it does a very fine mist. So I got a little heavier there than I wanted, but that's okay, because overall I'm loving that. Okay, I'm going to wipe off my surface real quick. I brought this surface out because I was doing the mixed media and was, you know, using the heat gun a lot, but I found I really like it because it just wipes off so easily. And so that was kind of a bonus. So I still have it out here on my desk. The ink just comes off of it really well. All right. So here's our card base, and here is our spider web all started. So let's get our other pieces. Here I've gone ahead and stamped out the word trick or treat, and then I heat embossed it. I stamped it in black and heat embossed it with a clear embossing powder. And let's take a look at our spider webs. If I can find where I put them, here they are. Our actual spiders. Take them out of the package for us. They're so creepy. We've got this one that we're going to use to be our little guy that comes out. I'm going to give you a little tip about these spiders. They have the teeny tiniest little legs. So when you die cut these, you're going to want to use a pretty sturdy paper. You're not going to want to use a real thin paper, because when you try to take those out of the die cuts, these little legs will tear if your paper is too wimpy. So I found using a thicker cardstock, it just gave me a better die cut. It was easier to remove it from the die. So I'll show you one that I've done. This one is a double layer of black paper, and he just popped right out of that die, no problem. Now the Yupo paper, this one right here, I had to be real careful as I removed it to not damage his little legs. So we're going to go ahead and layer this one with the black on the bottom. We want him to fall out of our card real easily, so I found giving him a little more weight made him fall out a little better once we get our card put together. So let's layer him up. There we go. So if you haven't been over to Facebook today, I encourage you that after the live to head over to the Facebook page, because today they're having a really fun treasure hunt in honor of Talk Like a Pirate Day. And you can win prizes and participate in just a lot of fun, as well as seeing a lot of really great creations using pirate products from Whimsy Stamps. So do head over and participate in that. And who knows, you might win one of the prizes. So having a little bit of trouble getting his legs to go down. Get him centered. Well, there we go. I may have to add some more glue to his legs. They're not wanting to go down. There we go. A little more right here. This is the only one where I glued his legs down. On the others, I let their legs be a little more free on the card, so they kind of look like they were crawling in the web. That one. Okay. This is our little spider that's going to fall out. You can see some of my glue there. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and attach my web here to my card front. All right, now for the spiders, I did go ahead and die cut those ahead of time out of some colored Yupo paper that I created in advance. And I'm missing one little guy. Ah, here he is. He got caught underneath, got caught in the pigment ink. But here's our other one. So on these, I did not stack them. They're just one layer of my Yupo'd alcohol ink Yupo paper. And they're completely dry. I let those dry overnight. He wanted to fall off. But on the back side, you can see here that I've added a piece of foam just to their bodies. So I'm going to go ahead and position these on my card. Like I said, on just a few of his feet, I'm going to add glue. But on the rest of his feet, I'm going to let those be free. So this little guy, I'm going to put him right down here on the bottom. And you can see how leaving these legs kind of free, it gives him a very lifelike look. This one, I'm going to put her up here at the top. And again, her legs are all free, and I added just a little foam there on her body. And again, just choosing a few places to add glue on her legs. I'm going to put her at an angle just right up here. All right, let's check our Yupo paper and see if it's almost dry. All right, so it looks like it's getting there. The section that I need to use is looking pretty dry. Some of the heavier spots over here are still wet, but we're going to be using more of the center space. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and then we'll be ready to do a little die cutting. All right, for our trick or treat, I don't have a die for this one, but that's okay. I wanted it just to be an organic shape, so I'm just going to cut that out with my scissors, and I'll show you why it was important to have this as a separate die cut rather than stamping it and heat embossing it right on my black paper. We needed this to be separate, and I'll show you why. So let's work on our inside. One item you're going to need is some thread. And this is going to be our little piece of spider web. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it a little bit longer than I need, and that's on purpose. That way I can always trim it off later, but you don't want to not have enough, because you need to have enough to go under your spider and enough to go under your trick or treat. So I'm going to take some double-sided adhesive in the 1/8 of an inch thickness, and I'm going to put a strip right on the back of my sentiment and on the back of my spider. Rub those down. Now I'm going to take my thread and the bottom end of it. Oops, I want him falling down this way. So I'm going to turn him around. I'm going to lay my thread right on that double-sided adhesive. Tap it down in there. Now I'm going to grab a second piece of double-sided adhesive and put right over the top. Burnish that real well. Now I'm going to add some black foam on top of him to add a little more weight, because like I said, the more weight we add to him, the better he's going to fall out of the card. So before I go any further, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing over here. I'm going to lay that right in my double-sided adhesive, then get a second piece and go right over the top. That way that thread is really well in there. And burnish that real well. Okay. See, now you kind of pull on that and that thread's not going to come out. You're not going to yank on it real hard, but it's not like it's real, you know, fixing to fall out on you. So I'm just going to get a scrap piece of this foam that I often use, because I don't have any black, you know, pop dot type things. So I'm just using this. And I'm going to cut myself a circle for his body. And this doesn't have to be exact. This is just to add weight to our spider, and also it's going to cover up my double-sided adhesive for me. So I'll put that right there and get that off the bottom. I think it's good. All right, and then one little piece up here for the top of his body. Okay, let's cover up that adhesive so it doesn't stick on anything. All right. Ooh, look at that. He looks good. I like him. Okay, so to finish this off, I'm going to remove my tape from here, add some glue. And decide about where I want my spider to come out. So there we go. Burnish that down real well. Hi, Shauna, how are you? All right, so here's our little spider, and when I get ready to put him in the envelope, I'll just twist the string up, leaving my spider down where his little legs aren't going to get caught in the string. And it's going to be a nice little surprise for somebody when they open the card. So let's check on this. And what we're going to do with this today, since I already had my spiders done in advance, this is what we're going to cut the back of the eek word out right here. And you know what, I'm going to use this minty tape just because it's a little less sticky, and I don't want to damage my pretty alcohol ink. I want to be able to use that again. Move that down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and cut off some of these places just because they may still be wet. There we go. This area right down here, I'm going to go ahead and cut that off as well, just in case it's wet. I don't really want to get alcohol ink on my my plates that go through my die cut machine. So one thing you can do is lay down like a thin piece of typing paper or something to kind of be a protector if you are worried about it still having a little wet to it. All right. Shauna, you're very sweet. We can use the word ingenious, or we could say a little crazy sometimes, but I thought this was a fun idea. I think that my grandkids will enjoy the little spider falling out. All right. Sometimes when you're trying to die cut Yupo paper, you have to shim it real well to get it to go through, or, you know, to get it to cut through, but I I have my machine set up since I was just doing that yesterday. I had mine pretty good and ready to go. So I've gone ahead and this is 2 layers of black paper, and I cut my letters out of black. So let's go ahead and glue those down. It does not matter how I do it. I still, look at that, I still have ink all over. The good thing about alcohol ink, it's very easy to clean up. You just use some rubbing alcohol and it's going to come right off. And that's true on whatever surface. Like you can see some of my spiders here have a little bit of purple alcohol ink in there when I die cut them. So I will just clean them up with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. No problem. So one thing about when you're using alcohol inks, it's always going to look different. You know, you're never going to have 2 that come out exactly the same, which I think is part of the fun. No, I have one little white spot right there. I didn't see it, but that's okay. We're not going to worry about that. All right, I'm going to put some foam on the back of that. I'm using this white foam. Hopefully that doesn't bother me later. It doesn't want to separate. There we go. All right, I'm going to put this about, you know, I'm going to put her little foot right there. That fixes that. Okay, and now we're going to add this last little spider. And on this last spider, we can have him crawling up towards the eek or crawling down. So that's just personal preference. I'm going to turn him so he's kind of crawling upwards. All right, so let's give this one a test out and see how it works. All right, so they pull it out of the envelope, a nice spidery eek, and open it up, and out falls, whoops, out falls your spider. So trick or treat, and you get a nice little scary spider to fall out at your recipient. It's good if they're standing up when you hand it to them. That way it comes out, might hit their arm and be a little creepier. But like I said, I like to roll it up a little bit like that and lay it so it's here, and that way his little legs won't get tangled up in your thread when you hand it to him. And then, and hopefully it gives them a little bit of a scare. So I thought this was a fun way to color up your spiders. You get some really great just blends of colors on the spiders that make them show up on this dark rather than making your spiders black. That this was a fun way. So you can see, like I said, no 2 come out the same. They're always going to have a little bit different coloring. And we'll pull this one out as well. There you go. I just love how this card turned out. If you liked it too, I hope you'll give this one a try. I'm going to switch my camera back real quick. Thank you so much for joining me here today to make this spider card. I do want to remind you that it is Talk Like a Pirate Day, and there's a fun treasure hunt going on over on our Facebook page, and you'll want to go over there and participate in that and maybe win some prizes. So again, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to crafting with you again next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.